Hey, this is Legend of Ted. Well, the T and the E of Ted, but
Legend of T.
Ted.
Yeah, sounds way cooler.
Yeah. Um, so we're here to. Last week we went over the just kind of our expectations and what we thought was going to happen, expectations and predictions of the new Star Wars movie. Now we've finally seen it. We get to review those, see what we got right, see what we got wrong, what we thought of it overall. This isn't going to necessarily be a review. We're
Yeah,
just going to talk
it's
about
not
it.
like we're gonna rate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'll give an initial rating of 16 rapples.
24 ruples.
Got it. There you go. There's your rating if you really wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
So the really cool thing about this movie is that like in the trailers before the movie, when you hear Luke Skywalker say, "This is not going to go the way that you think," that's like the theme of the movie. This movie is not going to go the way that you think.
Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Oh.
Spoilers ahead.
Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler.
I'm so sorry. Spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, turn off now. Come back, please. Like, just pause
Just-
it. Go watch it. Come back.
Turn off your computer, turn off your phone, turn off any communication device. Go see
Buy
Star
your
Wars.
tickets from
Buy your
phone
tickets
first,
and
then
go
turn
see
that
it.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Anyway.
priorities.
So you've been warned there are spoilers. Now here we go. So,
Okay.
let's talk about kind of our expectations
Yeah.
as far as what we talked about in our last podcast and how it either played with our expectations or actually fulfilled some of our expectations.
Yeah. So, Devin, the D of our TED,
He is the D of our TED.
he's not here. He was expecting Kylo Ren to be redeemed. I said that could happen, and if it does, he will die. That did not happen.
I said outright that it wouldn't happen. I didn't
Yeah.
think it would make for a good story.
Yeah.
How it went down was nothing like what I was expecting, but
Definitely not. Yeah.
was what I was expecting for him not to be redeemed, even though it made you think he was going to be.
It did. It pointed that way. It was not what we did not go the way we thought.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
So it does. I feel like that closes it off. I felt like he was going to go the Vader path.
yeah.
Not be redeemed this movie, or maybe they would speed it up and have him redeem and die in this movie. But I feel like they explored that option. They gave him that choice. They put him in the position that Vader was in, and he went the other route. He said, "No, I want the galaxy.
Yeah.
I can take over this force right now. I can step in as supreme leader."
Yeah.
And
And kind of what I think about, like, will he be redeemed in the next movie? I feel like people want that too much, and I feel like a lot of those same people
think
also
that's-
want these new movies not to copy the old movies, but they want them to copy the old movies. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's a paradox. So, but what I think is I agree with you completely. I don't think he's going to have a redemption story, like we saw with Vader. I think that what explains it all is when he asks Luke's force projection, like, are you here to save me? And Luke says, nope. He doesn't explain or anything. He just says, no, I'm not here to save you.
Yeah. He also knows, he did say to Leia before, he was like, he's not beyond saving. No one's beyond saving.
Yeah.
But he's like, that's not in the cards at this point. I think he knew that.
Yeah. So what I like that how they did that is, like, I just don't know what to expect for the next movie, because
Yeah.
it's I don't think it's gonna be what like poetry, like George Lucas said, which is just an excuse to tell the same story over and over again.
Doesn't always have to rhyme, George.
Yeah. A lot of great poems don't rhyme, you doofus.
Yeah. So another thing, I was convinced of this. I thought that Luke was going to go down more the gray Jedi path, lukewarm Jedi, if you please,
I do, please.
and more like Qui-Gon Jinn, in my opinion, and be like, hey, similar to the way that he put it in the movie, the Force is not, it would be vain to assume that the Force would die along with the Jedi. The Force is for everyone, kind of a thing. and be more open to the Force and less strict about the Jedi way. But that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That
So, and I kind of liked that because what happened is that he cut himself off from the Force.
Mhm.
Do we know why? Like, did he say exactly why he cut himself off from the Force?
I do wonder if it's so he wanted to be unfindable.
Yeah, and that would definitely accomplish that. So
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
He didn't want to be found. I think the Force really hadn't brought him much. You know, he's probably just sick of it at that point.
Yeah.
He was
So yeah, instead of like let's balance the light and the dark, and I've been meditating on this for years. It's the Force doesn't belong to the Jedi.
Yeah.
But he clearly still knows and believes that there is a light side and a dark side of the Force. There's a good and there's a bad, because when Rey had that
It's going
experience
down into the
with the
hole.
Force, like
Yeah.
you went straight to the dark. He knows it's dark, and that's why I don't think there's gray. There's light and dark, and then you can, but you can
does
have
seem like
both
they
light
defined
and
it, yeah.
both dark.
You can have both, but it's,
I like
they
that
did define
they
that
define
there
one
is
another.
a dark side of the Force.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought you were being
they-
super wise, but I feel like the light side and the dark side both define one another.
Well, I took it more beforehand. I took it more as like there are generally perceived dark side Force powers, like Force lightning and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just those just tend to be used by Sith more, and because they aren't afraid of whatever, you know.
Yeah, no, I
But
agree.
They did kind of draw a line in the sand and just say, hey, there is a dark side of the Force, you know, and it's not just, and it is as simple as that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what it
So
seems to me.
and what I kind of got from this movie is that it's not like the dark side of the Force is an entity that wants you to do evil things and harm others. It wants you to give into your passions, to give into your fears and doubts and things like that. Whereas the light side,
And then
appropriately,
it can also just be a means to an end.
yeah,
Just, you know.
and whereas the light side is clarity, it's peace of mind and stability of emotion. So it's just things. It's cold and versus warm. It's, you know, death and decay versus growth and life. So I thought that was one of the coolest like Force moments, teaching moments of all Star Wars.
I feel like that enlightened from the episode 5,
Mm-hmm.
the original trilogy, when Luke goes into the hole on Dagobah,
Yeah.
and meets Vader, and I feel like that just kind of, I mean, that was Rey's moment,
Yeah.
Rey's mirror moment of that, and you know they see themselves.
Yeah.
the end.
At the end.
You know,
Both-
I feel like it enlightened that part of the 5th movie.
Yeah. So like they're similar in cosmetics, but and in theme, but also different. Like they teach the opposite lesson. So with Luke, when he saw his own face in the head of that he just chopped up of Vader, that was very indicative of who his parent was. Like Darth Vader is your parent, and though he didn't know it at the time. But what we see here that Rey finds out later
Well,
is
there's also a like you're gonna end up kind of fighting yourself. Like you need to,
yeah,
you know,
which is kind of
master
cool.
yourself, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Um,
And with Rey, it was you want to know who your parents are, but it's not because you don't know, like you want to know like their faces, what they look like, remember them. It's that you want to feel like you come from somewhere important and that you are someone important because of where you come from.
Yeah.
And what the movie did was it just melded the silhouettes together of the supposed parents,
Yeah.
and
you are you.
you are you. It's not like you have
You're
to
not
come from
defined
where
by
to be
anything
you.
Else. You're, Yeah.
Which is why I say like it's not like the dark side is trying to make you like hurt other people or do stuff like that. It's just it actually taught her a lesson, but also it's her giving in to like what's been holding her back. So it's just really interesting. Anyway.
And so, yeah, with that, she was wanting to find out her parentage, and she did end up finding her parentage, which we were kind of right about that.
Yeah, like about her
It
parents
didn't
not
matter.
being anybody important. Or not being important that who her parents were.
Yeah. It was just, she, it just really mattered. It didn't matter. She was there. She was just a new character, had no ties to the story before.
And that goes along with Kylo Ren's conversation with her later, where like he's telling her basically, you're nobody in this story, but you're somebody to me, and that's how the dark side tempts her, telling her a truth, and then tempting her with not feeling alone.
Just a desire for, the dark side, I feel like, is just fueled by desire.
Yeah.
You know, it's just your base wants. There are, like, the whole story with how Anakin was created. I mean, I guess this is myth.
Yeah.
What is it? Oh, Legends.
The
Star Wars
Legend.
Legends. Where, I can't remember Darth.
Plagueis,
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he wanted to be able to sustain life, create life, and extend his own life using the Force, and he used the dark side of the Force, and ended up creating Anakin in his mother. So I just feel like going back to that, and all dark side Force users, they want power.
Yeah.
Is their base wants. And so that was the attempt of trying to get Rey to the dark side, giving into her wants. She just wants to be wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So next up is our expectations with the Porgs. I want to say
wrong.
that I've been vindicated. I wasn't like adamant like that was my own feelings. It's because I had seen Rian Johnson say like they're in the movie an appropriate amount, and I just trusted what that meant.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
I just assumed, based on prior Star Wars movies, that the Porgs are going to take the place of Ewoks, of R2, of like the Gungans, in just a poor way of like doing things that they can't and shouldn't be doing, and just taking up too large of a role for what they are. And I mean, like, before you Ewok lovers start hating on me, and I'm also not crapping on R2 either. R2 is great, but it's just BB-8 ended up filling that role.
Yeah,
tying
so
people up.
they were guilty of the sin that we predicted, but not in the way that we
not in the
predicted.
way we
The one thing I will say about the Porgs is I feel like they were a clever storytelling device to tell us kind of what Chewie's going through right now, and like he just lost his lifelong friend, and you know what? Like if just let him go through this the way he needs to, okay?
Yeah.
And apparently that was
Chewie
letting
had no one as well at that point.
yeah.
Chewie and Rey just kind of had each other at that moment, and Chewie had these Porgs to look after.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they come in and they, little emotional beings that know what he's going through.
With overly large eyes.
They also just lost a friend.
So they can sympathize with their
friends,
friend's killer.
Yeah. He didn't know.
Yeah. But like with BB-8 doing two things. One off screen, one off screen and then one slightly off screen. Apparently he bound and gagged like 3 guys.
Somehow.
No.
And then had
Honestly,
to use like a whole bunch of like 200 coins to take down another guy, which was fantastic.
yeah,
but
that was fine. Like, and that kind of connected the little funny scene with the weird,
the little
burping
guy just throwing in 1,000,000 coins,
which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah. Like, some people thought that was awkward. I just thought it was funny. But like, no. And honestly, the first time I watched it, I did not think that he had actually done that. I thought, like, I was trying to figure out who did that. And then it just plays out as if he actually did it. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, we're meant to believe that he actually did that. No, that is ridiculous. So, and then the second thing is somehow manning a walker. It's not an ATST. It's a smaller one. Anyway, he somehow manned a walker and saved Finn and Rose last minute, and it was like. It's not like that was like a necessary plot point either. Like you could have done so many different things with that, but you had to do the BB-8 trope.
I wonder how he got in there to begin with, because
right.
if you remember from on Endor, the hatch was on the top of him.
Yeah.
Like, how is he supposed to get in there? Like, open a hatch, get in.
Well,
there.
this looked like the little hatch was kind of on the back.
So it might have been different.
But still.
I'm less bothered on how he was controlling it, because if you look, he was holding like a severed cable and he was controlling it that way.
That one's honestly less. That's not nearly as bad as him somehow binding and gagging a few guys.
Yeah.
How? Anyway.
Exactly.
And then, like, you talked about the beginning scene, how BB-8 fixed the
I did.
X-wing kind of bothered you?
Just by shoving his head into the thing.
I just thought it was funny. I don't know.
On my second watch through, we do have problems. We've seen it twice in the first weekend.
Yeah.
Each. On my second watch through, I took this was after we had talked about it, and I just took your approach, and I was like, it's just a funny, he's trying to plug up the dam kind of a thing, and just goes screw it at the end.
Some kid is going to grow up thinking that that's how electricity works.
Yeah. It's like a dam. If you plug up one, it doesn't don't relieve the pressure, it make another hole.
Yep.
Anyways,
oh my gosh. Anyway, so and that was, again, these are just little trifles, little things. It's not like they were movie ruining things.
No.
But yeah. Oh, and then the next thing that we were talking about before was the kind of the situation of the government, how dire it would be for the resistance, and like what's going on now that the Republic's dead.
I did want more resistance story. I wanted to know how they were going to this is ironic now. I wanted to know how they were going to build their forces to be able to, match the First Order, and much the opposite.
Now there's like 40 or 50 guys left.
If that. I mean, how many people can fit on a Millennium Falcon?
There's just like 20 of them are shoved into the smuggling
into the smuggling bays.
Yep.
Throw some under the seats.
Yeah, it's a great situation for everyone involved.
So, I mean, completely decimated. So I did have I had an epiphany like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I wrote it on the screen. What if the Resistance stops trying to fight the First Order? They go a peaceful route and start trying to help everyone else realize the First Order is, clearly corrupt, clearly not what's good for the galaxy.
Okay.
And maybe there's more of like a sabotage, like MLK style, like peaceful resistance.
So yeah, and you know what? That one of the last things we wanted to talk about in the podcast was what this movie sets up for the next. Yeah. So let's go into that when we get to that part.
So, yeah, exactly. We'll
but
get
that's
back to that.
Okay. Good. That's really interesting.
I did want to bring that up. Something for you to think about while we're going through these other.
So and then we'll kind of talk about how nobody came to help then. Yeah. Okay. So and the last. Okay. So two more things. So, what did you? Because we jokingly wrote that there would be a love interest between Finn and Phasma, but apparently there was a love interest that nobody else expected, which is Rose's love interest with Finn. Because I don't know how much Finn reciprocates. I mean, there was that scene at the end of the movie where he's putting the blanket over her, but maybe it's more. Her side at the end. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know how much of like a romantic interest that is.
Well, I do feel like during the first, 90% of it, he was worried about Rey. He was concerned about where she was, how she was going to be able to find them, what was going on with her. And she finally gets there. He gives her a big hug, and I think he realized that I got this other girl.
Yeah. So I'm just interested with how they play that, because you see Rey like looking at them, and I honestly can't really tell what that. I don't think that there's like
Yeah.
a jealousy in that look, but I feel like
Maybe
it's
an
like,
understanding.
like what's going on there? I
understand.
wonder what they went through. So, but I don't know how they're gonna play
see.
that because and I don't know how that much they're gonna do the love stuff because George Lucas didn't want any sort of love interests at all in The Empire Strikes Back. But look how that turned out.
Yeah, I did make the joke when
The one of the best lines in cinema history. I love you. I know.
I did make the joke at the end when Luke walks in and sees Leia.
Yeah.
I turned to my wife and kiss me for old time's sake.
He gave her finally a proper sister kiss on the
On
forehead.
the forehead.
Aw.
Oh, yeah.
Not nearly as incestual.
It's been brothers and-
I think she's been sister zoned. Anyway. So that'll be interesting. And then this.
She was like, I've been through menopause. We
What's the point
got no
anymore?
worries.
Yeah. So and then the last thing as far as expectations go was that I realized this after the second time I watched it because I was thinking about like what's social media been doing up to this point and for the last 2 years. Well, what they've been doing is obsessing over who Rey's real parents are, and it's always someone important, and who Supreme Leader Snoke is, where he comes from, what his origins are, and I feel like that's a symptom of us getting prequel trilogies based on how the Emperor took command.
We feel entitled to backstories now.
Yeah, which
we've been given, 4 movies now of backstory.
Yep.
So yeah.
So it's
But they're like, no, you don't deserve it.
Yeah. And honestly, like I feel like I get what you're saying, but also as kind of a joke, but I feel like we deserve something better and they gave something better to us, which is a story with a little intrigue and mystery for once instead of let's explain everything to you.
Go for it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Let me take you line by line.
Yeah. And that's it's proper storytelling to keep the crowd on the edge of their seat and maybe not explain everything.
We don't
keep a little mystery alive, just like in your love relationship, Joe.
Give us podcast something to talk about.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I was totally fine with it.
Yeah.
On both accounts.
Yep.
Don't care.
No, I preferred Rey's parents, as you guys know, if you listen to the last one, to not be anybody important and for it to not be some mystical like continuing of the Skywalker saga or whatever. And this flew in the face of that because it did something more poetic, which is it's like Rey, you don't have to come from somewhere important to be someone important because guess what? You already are someone immensely important because you're you. So it was just a cool story.
What your parents make of you.
Yeah. And Snoke was obviously this mystical character from somewhere crazy, important and all this stuff. And you know what? We're gonna kill him, and we're not gonna tell you where he came from. Yeah. So it's all about how origins.
What bothers me about that is Snoke was crazy powerful. They've clearly, comparing to previous movies, they've clearly given Force users more power than they have in the past.
Yeah.
They're like. Comparing like Yoda in his battle with Mace Windu. No, not Mace Windu.
With Emperor Palpatine?
Count Dooku.
Oh, with Count Dooku. Yeah.
Like barely holding up those 2 stone pillars to Rey at the end. Like, here's 50 giant boulders that.
Dude, that was more than it was so many.
Yeah, that I'm just levitating all at once, and I will part them like Moses.
Oh my gosh.
I see you a Red Sea and raise you 50 tons of boulder. Clearly they've powered up the Jedi, but at the same time, like, Emperor or Supreme Leader Snoke was by far the most powerful Force user we've seen.
Yeah.
Like, he could connect, and this is we wanted to talk about these things as well, but he could connect to Force users so that they could see, talk, touch each other. Mm-hmm. He could, can just control another Force user.
Hux's nose should have been broken.
Oh yeah.
By the way, crack, that was his nose breaking.
Yeah. You heard that. he smacked the ground.
Oh
hard.
man, but then it's just kind of fine,
Yeah.
and he has like a bloody whatever.
So I did go back and watch a lightsaber battle on the lightsaber duel on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and there's a part where they're both come to a standstill and they're trying to use the Force on each other.
Yeah.
Similar to how it happened with the lightsaber with Rey and Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And this, they just kind of come to a standstill. They're trying to, push each other back.
It was crazy though because they were pulling the lightsaber toward themselves, and that ended up pushing it back. It was just kind of fun.
Yeah. My point with that one was Snoke can not only do that, he can just willy-nilly control another Force user.
Yeah.
How he pleases, kind of thing. Anyways, I just I wish that they would have explained how he was so powerful, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That was my only.
That's true. Yeah, and we'll get into that thing with how he died later, but we'll go into the kind of the story first and split it up into kind of how it was paced and some of the scenes we liked, as well as the character arcs, which I feel like were really strong in this film. But so we'll start from the beginning, then go on to the middle, and then talk about the end. But the beginning was a really
It kept in line with a lot of other Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Starting with the battle, exciting, fast-paced, great visuals.
Oh, yeah.
And
then Poe tooling with Hux.
Nice.
And some people thought that was kind of out of place and awkward in a Star Wars film, and you know what? No, it's not. It's just because the galaxy is far, far away doesn't mean they can't tool with one another.
He's tooling with you, sir.
So it was just kind of funny, and it fit Poe's character, and it fit the first encounter we ever saw with Poe with Kylo Ren in the first movie, in the 7th movie, whatever. So I thought it was fun and fast paced and clever, and also started the dire situation that the Resistance ended up in.
Really well set up multiple arcs. It set up Poe's arc. It set up the whole dire situation that the rebellion, resistance is in.
They're called Rebellion. Also, I think the line's being blurred at this point.
Yeah, whatever. There's only 20 of them. What are they going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So strong beginning, and one of the things that I really liked that they did in the beginning was something that they've never done before, which is make a really dramatic scene out of somebody sacrificing themselves for the rebellion. That is essentially a nobody. We don't know her, we don't know who she is, other than the connection with Rose later. But you see somebody doing something heroic and brave.
It's not just 3 seconds in their cockpit.
There's a lot of suspense and intensity to it, which there's a lot of in this film. They did a good job of that, keeping you on the edge of your seat. So anyway, good start to the film. It was a short Act 1, but it was really good.
Yeah. So then after that,
I'll kind of talk about this because there's a basic kind of structure that writers use, whether in books and especially in movies, where they do a fast start, they suck you in, and then they do a little bit of world building and character arcs and setting stuff up for the third act during the second act or the middle of the movie. And that's story writing 101, and they did that, but they fudged up the middle a little, and here's why.
It was... They come up, they're urgent, they get out of light space.
Light speed?
Light speed. And they find out the Empire has caught up with them, and they get out of range, and they make it, very, very clear, limited fuel, can only keep this up for so long. Hurry, urgency.
Yeah, everyone watching the movie is feeling that urgency because of not only what they're saying, but what they're showing. Because ships are running out of fuel, the ones that are flying next to the big one.
Yeah.
they're running out of
falling
fuel.
back,
They're falling
getting
back.
blown
They're
up.
dying. Like there's a lot of urgency in what they tell us, and mostly in what they show us.
And they're literally being shot at the entire time. They just have their shield, that can protect them
Yeah.
for the time being. And so they break off into the other story, the just
Finn and Rose.
Finn and Rose trying to find a way out of this story.
Mm-hmm.
And it slows down.
It slows down way too much, and the thing
There's
is
no
the
urgency.
the
It's fine to slow down.
yeah the pace could have been slow still, but with more urgency in the characters' actions.
Yeah, it was just they're walking around a casino. They were also,
Finn's getting way too distracted.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, champagne glasses.
People with bow ties.
I don't care that my friends are about to be blown up right now.
So
Fancy stuff. How can you not like this?
It didn't fit. Like they were urgently looking for like 5 seconds, and then they go out on a balcony to watch a race.
Let's go watch the horse thing race.
I forget what they're called, but they were kind of cool looking anyway. Yeah. But like let's go out and talk about our feelings, which is something that they these segments in themselves weren't bad, but they didn't fit the necessary pace of the story.
The necessary rush where it's like we have 6 hours or whatever left of fuel before we're going to be blown up by, before everyone we know and care about is about to be blown up.
Yeah.
Our entire purpose.
And like, why would they're in jail. Why would they reject the help of this guy, even if he looks shady and he talks weird? Yeah. Like just, you'd be desperate at that point. But they weren't desperate at all. They were just like, you can see Finn just kind of lounging.
We'll find our own way.
Thanks, Thor. That sounded like Chris Hemsworth. It just didn't fit. But I liked the subject matter. Like I think the animal thing was played a little bit too much when they were like, it was worth it, like destroying things that they love, like people, or not people, but like the things, money and stuff like that. And then she lets the animal go, and she's like, now it's worth it. And I'm just thinking, no, it's not. The entire Resistance fleet is gonna die. No, it was not worth it. So yeah, but every moment that Del Toro was in, it was accomplishing the same sort of message, but it was being done in a much more clever and better way. Like the message that like these war profiteers, these people selling, they're selling to both sides. So which is another reason why your theory about them going the peaceful route could be really like on the nose, but like on the nose, but like nobody looks at it that way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Because that's what the Jedi seemed to. At least if you look at the prequels, like that's where the Jedi went wrong.
Yeah,
they created a force of war. With the clones, they started being way too involved in war planning. All the Jedi were referred to as generals.
Yeah.
And that was their downfall. They were distracted by war.
Yeah.
Instead of
Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, but the Jedi were they're supposed to bring peace, right?
Yeah. They're peacekeepers, but
and I mean there's obviously time for lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
But
there needs to be.
I need this.
But yeah. So the scenes themselves weren't bad. The pacing was really the issue here, and what saved the middle of the movie was the Rey's training with Luke Skywalker. That was that was really
those scenes interjected
so good.
Just kind of
because it was perfect for the middle of the movie where they're setting stuff up with Rey finding out what really happened with Luke and with Kylo Ren, with her learning stuff about the Force, but also teaching Luke stuff at the same time. Of like what and I think Luke points out what a lot of people point out about the Jedi. That like in the height of their power they let this, and Luke refers to him as Darth Sidious for like the only time ever, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Just kind of a little thread connecting him to the prequels. But like he says like they were distracted. They didn't do anything good. Like they in the height of their power, look what happened.
Yeah.
And then she said, but it was a Jedi who saved Darth Vader and defeated the Empire. So it was just, I don't know, it was just a really cool middle part of the story, really intriguing story going on, and saved the middle part of the movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That also calls back to me, like with the when he does save Vader, it wasn't him fighting Vader, it was him with his resolve to not join the dark side and just say, no, like, look, no, this isn't what we're supposed to be. You know, it was him having that realization that, like, I'm not gonna fight you. Like, this isn't what we're supposed to be. This is what, you know.
Yeah.
That's the way of.
And that's what the Emperor saw as weakness, but ended up being his greatest strength because that's what turned Vader. Yeah. Which is a cool storyline in itself, but it rings true in this movie as well. Anyway, and then the end. The third act, which was the longest third act the longest by far of the three, because it was segmented into like two endings almost, with like a little lull between.
Yeah, with the first one with Rey and Kylo Ren, and then the second actual ending with the my goodness, what is the planet called again? The mining planet.
Yeah, I don't know. Keep going. I'll look it up real quick.
So with the one ending with Rey, it just kind of I found it interesting. They with the seventh movie,
Crate. No.
Yeah, Crate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. With the seventh movie, they stuck really closely to the formula for A New Hope. Mm-hmm. They, follow the same character arcs, the same hero's journey.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of that.
It's the hero's journey.
Yeah, the hero's journey with Rey. It was much the same, Death Star included. We will get back to the Death Stars. This one, we were basing a lot of our predictions off of how the fifth movie went. I hate that with Star Wars. Like, not with Star, but like, I call it the fifth movie. It was the second movie to come out. Fifth in linear sequence, kind of. Really, it's sixth in linear sequence now with Rogue One.
I don't know. That's why I usually just say back. Like Empire.
Yeah.
New Hope.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. And then the prequels is one sort of entity, a blob of sorts.
A blob of... I don't care to differentiate.
Of a really cool idea that was executed poorly. Anyway.
Yeah. And it was... Oh, I do take back last time. I apologize. I said it was poor writing that ruined the prequels. It was poor writing and poor acting.
Yeah.
He was overselling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best part about the trilogies is the world building.
Yeah, it was really
cool ideas that weren't executed.
Cool ideas, right. And I think it brought balance to the movies. If you look at like,
with great light comes great dark, is what you're saying.
With flashy, with slow, painful lightsaber battles. And flashy.
They were compensating, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the flashy, overcompensating lightsaber battles. We finally get lightsaber battles where you can see what's going on, and are kind of exciting to watch. I'm referring to you, Ben Kenobi. You pick that thing up. My heck. Anyways, ranting.
Old Ben.
Old Ben. That is. What, going back to it, I love A New Hope. I was raised on A New Hope. I've seen A New Hope more than any other movie in my life.
Yeah.
And that is impressive considering how many times I've seen Napoleon Dynamite. But that lightsaber battle with him and Darth Vader is so painful.
Yeah. Just honestly be glad, because I know in the special features they talk about how like what they were using for the lightsabers was kind of delicate, and they told them to be a little soft, and they were harder than they wanted to be. So apparently they were more aggressive than they were directed to be.
Yeah. And apparently they had broken like a few of them already. I don't know why you can't just go get something else.
Yeah.
Like PVC pipe is not that expensive.
No. Anyways,
rant over.
Where were we?
I want to keep ranting. Anyway,
Okay, no. Okay.
Over.
So the point is. So go on. Sorry.
So with the ending with Rey and Kylo Ren, it didn't go the way we expected it. We expected something to happen with them and allegiances to change and for, people to die. I mean, people died, but not them.
Yeah. So it played off of our expectations of what the Return of the Jedi was because it set it up so well. But what
the Last Jedi was.
No. This is the Last Jedi. The Return of the Jedi.
Sorry, Return of the Jedi.
When Luke's on the Death Star with Vader and Emperor. Yeah. So we see that, but then we go, no, they're not going to do that in this film.
In the second movie, yeah. Because that's supposed to happen in the third.
But then when Kylo kills Snoke, spoiler alert, by the way. When Kylo,
whole thing's spoilers. If you've gotten this far and haven't,
yeah. No, but when Kylo kills Snoke, your mind goes directly to the Return of the Jedi and like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect them to actually go that route, but they did. Mm-hmm. But then it plays with those expectations. It goes back to, nah, he's still evil. Yeah. And he wants her to join him, and it's so well executed that it just every moment is intense, and there's lots of suspense going on, and it's finally a proper like lightsaber battle,
and finally a proper saber battle with the Crimson Guard. Is that what we're calling them?
We're gonna call them the Crimson Guard.
Yeah, instead of just being taken out willy-nilly in the prequels.
Yoda just like force pushes and then they just
like
not even that hard and they just collapse.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like it's finally like, oh, that's why you have them. And it made for purpose. My only complaint about that battle is the first 2.8 seconds. That's essentially while there's so many people on screen, it pulls a Power Rangers fight type thing where some guys are like spinning around to the side, and it's like those scenes are really hard to shoot where like a bunch of guys are scrambling on like two people. So they do that for about like 2.5 seconds, and then the rest of the fight is perfect.
Yeah, I do. In the Star Wars games, I'm pretty sure every single one of them you can throw your lightsaber.
Yeah.
And force bring it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they have not done that in a movie, and it is disappointing to me.
They did it with Vader in Return of the Jedi. You just don't see it like boomerang back to him. But like 2 seconds later, he has his lightsaber.
Yeah.
So.
But I want to see it.
Maybe next movie.
I want to see that happen.
Maybe next movie.
Anyways, okay.
And then we've got another trilogy after that in case they don't do it.
Yeah.
They're just gonna keep you on the end of the string.
Mm.
Anyway, so a couple scenes. You go with this one with the Hoth pod racing.
Hoth pod racing. I liked it. I was okay. I had a rant on our last video last podcast. It's not a video.
/video because it's just a podcast with a picture on YouTube.
Put it on YouTube. I ranted about sand. and I would like to clarify my position. It is a galaxy far, far away. An entire freaking galaxy.
Mm.
Right now it is night for us. Well, we probably couldn't see the sky. But next time you see the stars, look up. There is a greenish belt of a crap ton of stars and stuff that goes across the sky. That is the Milky Way. Count how many stars are in there. You can't. That is a crap ton of stars and solar systems and planets and all sorts of stuff that we do not know what is there.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars can visualize that for us.
Yeah.
They can do whatever the hell they want with no repercussions because I will give them my money to see whatever the hell they come up with. Do whatever you want. Make it interesting. Make it new. My problem is, I'm shaking the mic right
Quit
now.
moving
I'm
it so
very
much. I don't know
sorry.
how that's gonna sound.
I'm like, this clearly my biggest pet peeve with Star Wars. They can do whatever they want, yet they choose sand. They can do whatever they want, yet they choose planets that are. I was about to say monogamous.
Monotonous?
Monotonous.
Not monotonous, but they're the same.
They're the same.
Monoplanets.
Monoplanets, yes.
Yes.
Endor, all forest. The planet at the end of Rogue One, cannot remember the name. All water, one island.
Tatooine, all sand.
Tatooine,
Jakku, all sand.
Yeah.
It's
Everything. Naboo is like one of the two balanced things.
yeah.
Other
It's
planets,
a normal planet.
Yeah.
Like we know and love.
Exactly. Alderaan, presumably normal planet, destroyed. They can't have normal planets. And then they're either all city. Like, what's the one that is just entire city?
Coruscant.
Coruscant. Screw you, Coruscant. You stupid.
I think they blew it up, so we're good there.
Yeah. Anyway, so my rant was, you can have diversity in your planets. You can have something that doesn't look like it is all snow, doesn't look like that it is all sand.
It's just for me, like scientifically, it's annoying and
Yeah.
storytelling wise,
Yeah.
it's annoying that planets that sustain life don't behave like a planet that could sustain life would behave, because ours has an equator. It has poles based on its positioning with the sun.
So will literally
every other planet.
They might not have a magnetic field, which does pose other problems, but also would probably not sustain life very well.
Yeah, but we're assuming these planets can sustain life,
Yeah.
and I'll give a few like
So
the
we're not-
spice mines, or like some places
Yeah.
that aren't like sustainable for life, but you're there because you're mining it. Like, okay, fine.
And we don't need to get into the whole thing, but it's just like, please, Star Wars, variety. Variety. And so, visually, the end planet, Crate. It looked very visually very similar to Hoth, and it was clearly a callback to Hoth, which I'm fine with. It's just one of two planets that they're on in the whole movie, and it is the exact same as another planet.
Yeah.
That is my third rant of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm
I've
sure
gone
there
on a
have been
few.
several. It depends on the length.
I almost
Okay,
apologize.
so here's my thought on it. It really didn't bother me when I was watching the movie. I will admit that they fell under that trope, but I guess it depends on what bothers you in a movie or not. For me, it didn't bother me. I was mostly just absorbed in like the really cool visuals, what story it was telling, and I know we disagree on this, but like the one of my favorite scenes that both times I've watched it just sends chills all up and down my spine is when the Chewbacca and Rey fly the Millennium Falcon into this weird cave place beneath the surface, and they shake off all of these TIE fighters, and like it's just such an amazing scene. It is the best
visually fantastic.
The best
Yes.
Millennium Falcon chase scene I've ever seen in a movie. It's so good.
Out of the 3 or 4 others, that's my problem. Was there were a lot of callbacks in this movie. I'm fine with callbacks, but you're just taking the exact same, not plot, not just the exact same situation. Millennium Falcon chased by TIE fighters, fly through some impossibly tricky.
And for me, like
thing.
something like that's just so like it's just such eye candy. That doesn't
it's a mix for me.
That doesn't affect the story. Like it doesn't affect what's being told as a story in a movie. Like for me, like that doesn't bother me. In fact, I kind of like it. Like they're pandering to me specifically, and I'm encouraging them. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
That's true. That's fine. I'm just saying we can do something new.
Yeah.
Do something new.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well,
As long as
whatever,
it's
like-
the Millennium Falcon being chased in some sort of medium.
Whatever. I'm like right now. I'm just like thinking back to all of the Millennium Falcon chase scenes, and they are so
many.
Yeah.
They're not all the exact same, but anyways, moving on.
Preferences. Okay,
Yeah.
and then the Luke and Kylo
Luke
scene.
and Kylo scene. That scene, watching it the second time, well, when Luke comes in, I did notice the second time, Luke winks at 3PO because 3PO knows he's not actually there.
Yeah, because
Luke-
he's a droid. His sensors
Yeah.
detect something's
Yeah.
off.
If you notice, like, the entire time Luke's there, 3PO's just kind of like looking at him. He's like, Master Luke.
What in the actual? And then he winks at him and leaves.
And then he like, yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, yeah. No, I thought that was interesting.
I didn't notice that before, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The cool thing about that scene for me is other than the fact that it's just really cool and it's fun to see Mark Hamill with all three fingers, bro. Where are you going?
I did go all three fingers. I just went on the wrong thing.
It's just so good to see Luke with a lightsaber again, and especially that doesn't tell time. I'm just looking off here.
Oh.
Especially since it built it up a lot during the film. Like the first time he touches the lightsaber at the beginning of the film, he throws it behind his shoulder. He was sassy in this film. He was really sassy. Like when he told Rey with her eyes closed to reach out, and she reached out with her hand, and he tooled with her, and he just he slaps her hand with the grass or whatever.
Yeah. The reed.
The man is sassy in this film, and I love it. But it was just satisfying to see him with a lightsaber.
From? There are no tall plants on that planet.
He's a Jedi. He could use the Force.
Okay.
Though he cut himself off. But anyway.
There is one tree on that planet, and he has that long stick that he uses. Oh, I'm reading far too into it.
What long stick?
That he uses to stab the fish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Whatever.
We'll discuss it later. Anyway, okay, but kind of my point with that, not my point, but a part of that was that with the pacing of the movie, it was such a fast-paced thing that was happening during a time where the story was also winding down. Everyone was escaping, Rey was saving everyone, and that was beautifully done where Luke says, "I will not be the last Jedi." You see Rey's face immediately. The entire theater just went into cheers. It was just really cool. But things are slowing down, but they're also still fast paced, and you're still really interested in what's going on. So I thought that was really
ended on a
well
good
done.
note.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clarifying as well. I do not normally nitpick with movies. This is Star Wars.
This is one of our favorite movie franchises ever.
I mean, it's a huge movie franchise. I cannot think of another movie franchise that has how many movies now? 11?
No, there's 9 now. 8.
Oh yeah,
eight mainline movies, and then we're going. Oh no! There's 11 because of the 2 Ewok spin-offs and the Star Wars Christmas special. So there's 12.
Yeah. Plus 2 TV series.
What TV that are out?
Yeah, Clone Wars.
Oh,
Yeah.
the animated series.
The animated series.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's gotten a lot of screen.
It has a lot of screen time. It has a massive universe. There is so much here to look into. There's so much. So when I nitpick, I normally wouldn't do this with a movie, but they have to. The creators of these movies have to realize that this is a universe that kind of has its own place in legend. These movies will kind of be passed down, at least for the next 2-3 generations.
Yeah, honestly,
it's
just
I'll say they just kind of have to realize that they need to take care with what they do.
Oh yeah,
what they do, in a sense, matters. They're affecting. I mean, I said earlier, I've seen
A New Hope.
A New Hope more than any other movie. That was my childhood. That and Mr. Mom and E.T.
I love that you're one of the 3 people our age who's watched Mr. Mom.
Yeah. That's what my parents had.
Anyway,
When I got a little bit older, Titanic.
What? Your mom surely didn't want they let you watch
I don't
that.
think she knew. I think they just bought it because it was a big. Anyways,
Anyway, okay, so moving on to perhaps the most important and strong part of this movie, which is the character arcs. And we'll talk about 4 characters: Finn, Poe, Kylo, and Rey. Starting with Finn, his was really simple, but also had really powerful moments in it. And his character didn't develop at all at Canto Bight, but that's all right because he had enough during the beginning and the end. Where at the beginning he's still kind of running away, because in the first film he's running away from the First Order to the point where he's even abandoning Rey, which is the first person who ever treated him as a person.
not really. He was taking the wristband thing. He didn't want Rey
No.
to come back.
This is in the 7th movie.
Sorry.
Where he's doing that, and then even at the beginning of this movie, he's still running away from something, and he's still running away from the First Order, because he says this ship is doomed, and I need to get away because,
He
and at
lacks
least
hope.
yeah, he lacks hope, and he wants to protect his friend, which is better than the last movie when he was running away, but he still needed that development. It presented that to us,
This is not
and
purely
then
selfish reasons at this point.
yeah, and then at the end of this movie, he's running straight at the danger, to an unhealthy level.
Yeah.
And if, by the way, science fact, if whatever metal that was like melting, and he had an open cockpit, then he would have burst into flame immediately. Anyway,
Yeah.
the point is he
Doesn't
was
take
running
much to figure that one out.
Yeah, he was running right toward the danger, and I think the completion of his character arc was when Rose said, that's how we're gonna win. We got to stop running, or no, we've got to stop fighting what we hate and instead
Protecting what we love.
protecting what we love.
Yeah.
And I think that for him was
So
was a
calls
huge
back
deal.
to the peaceful route.
Yeah, that's
Protect what they love
You're the genius.
and stop fighting what they hate.
Man, that's so good.
Oh,
Um,
I'm glad that
you should email JJ.
I know. Me and JJ, we gonna be pals. I help him write this.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna be totally on board. And he's like, oh man, who is this kid? And he's gonna look up this podcast. And he's gonna be like, this kid rants for hours on sand. He's gonna like slowly stop replying to me.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's like another
I have
rant,
a point.
Another rant on your story. Anyway, anything to add with Finn? His was a simple story, but a good one.
Simple, yes. It was. I do feel that like Finn just kind of summed up how rebels come to be. Mm-hmm. They start by running away from the Empire, and they find the rebellion, and they realize that, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, to them at least.
Yeah. Huh, that's a good point. I really like that. And also like with his whole thing with Phasma, that honestly wasn't character building at all. That was just cool.
I did call that though. That he would have redemption against Phasma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I know people will complain that Phasma died in this movie, but I feel like she went out in a much better way than like Boba Fett did, for example, in the 6th movie. Because he
Boba Fett or Jango Fett.
Or Jango Fett, like, come on, just like head chopped off randomly by a purple. At least it was by a purple lightsaber. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then Boba Fett just like shot in his jetpack by a blind man, and gets eaten by the Sarlacc. Like, what in the? But here, like we're like, okay, our heroes are definitely gonna die from Phasma, to right to the point where a stroke of luck helps.
Yeah, it went well. Like, he shouldn't have been able to beat her.
Yeah.
But it was stroke of luck that helped him beat her.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Anyways, no, I thought that was good.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And apparently her armor. The reason is why the way it is it's magnetically sealed.
And reflective. Wait, magnetically sealed.
The reason I say it that way specifically is because that's what they say about the trash compactor interior. When the blaster bounces right off of it,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought was like, oh, magnetically sealed.
I didn't even think of that. That connection was not made.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway,
I just thought
yeah.
of it as reflective.
Yeah.
So it just reflected the.
Yeah.
race.
But like it makes more sense if it was something more complicated, much more expensive, why they wouldn't do that
Yeah.
with everyone.
Oh,
So
yeah,
anyway.
definitely.
So Poe's story. Man, did they just take a huge dump on Poe's character.
Huge dump on Poe. That poor kid. Like most people that died in this movie, his fault.
His fault.
His fault.
Um
I mean, granted, he did take it down a dreadnought. I think that was understated.
yeah. No, I
Also-
completely agree, but also the way that this movie portrays it, like you can't justify that many deaths even though you take down a dreadnought because
Yeah.
guess how much First Order there is against how much resistance
it's
there
not
is.
a 1-to-1
We
ratio, like-
we can't take those sacrifices. We've got to fight in a different way.
Yeah.
So
We have to fight when the odds are very much more in our favor,
yeah,
kind of a thing. So yeah, he did start with he's like, we started this fight, we had a dreadnought on the ropes, like we had to finish it right then, and even though the cost was great, and he works towards just realizing that, like, maybe the cost is too much. To at the very end, he told Poe to pull off.
yeah.
He was like,
He told Finn. Poe told Finn.
Poe told Finn to pull off. He was like, it's not worth it. It's like you might take this one thing out, but it's not worth it.
Yeah. So and that it was just kind of cool but I feel bad that it took so many deaths because he was the one who because of his little mission that he planned,
Yeah.
a bunch of people died that were evacuating, and then
Because that was just poor insight on his part. Like, he should have realized that, and Finch probably should have realized as well that
yeah.
someone was with them that they couldn't fully trust.
Maybe a sellsword isn't the best or most
Yeah,
trustworthy person. So
to be speaking about your plans in front of, and it was. So I also with is it Admiral Holden?
Vice Admiral Holdo. Yeah.
The pink hair lady.
Jurassic Park lady.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go on with your point.
So, granted, we did talk about this. The people dying was kind of on both Poe and Vice Admiral Holdo, because Poe wasn't trying to be understanding. He was being reckless. He was kind of jumping the gun, but at the same time, he didn't know that she had a plan.
Yeah, because when he heard the plan from Leia, and it might have
Yeah.
been that, it might have been him hearing something from Leia, but anyway,
I mean, granted,
it
he
made sense to
trusted-
him.
Yeah, he trusted Leia. Vice Admiral Holdo, like, he didn't have experience with her. He, they didn't have time to build trust with each other.
Yeah, so she was afraid of telling him because he's
Because
kind of a loose
reckless.
cannon,
Yeah.
but also she should have trusted that he would understand.
Yeah.
But also she was trusting that he would follow the chain of command.
Yeah.
But also she knew he was a loose cannon, so it's all around.
Spiral.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. She should have either trusted him that he would understand and explained it to him, and once he understood, then they could go with that plan. Or if he didn't understand, he needs to be locked up.
Yeah.
Star Trek, they will lock you up willy nilly. you insubordinate to the brig.
To the brig you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get that right.
Yep. So, it is a valuable lesson because he pulls away at the end, and he tells Poe to do so. Or sorry, I did the same thing as you.
Yeah.
He tells Finn to do so, and it's fun how these character arcs mesh together like that. But also at the very end, he makes the decision to leave when Luke Skywalker is buying them time. Like, we have to go and we have to fight another day. And I think the story advantage is that they're this little band, and going back to your theory that they have to do this peacefully, they need to be the people that light a spark in other people and convince them to not just accept the reign and rule of an entity like the First Order that's not going to be doing things for their best interest.
Yeah.
So it's just a cool story device. Anyway, Kylo?
Kylo, that one tears you around. That one goes back to the overall theme of this isn't going to go the way you think.
Yeah.
He starts off and it gives you insight into his training with Luke. It gives you, you see why he left. You see why he kind of is the way he is. You see that he's conflicted. You see that he, has something with Rey. Like he's drawn to her, I would say. And he ends up kind of surprising you at the end twice. He goes and he takes out Snoke without him realizing, which I thought was pretty cool. It was Snoke was reading his feelings quite accurately, but he didn't realize where his feelings were.
I started to adjust. No. Yeah, no, I agree. And what Snoke says, that like where there was uncertainty, now I feel resolve, is a really cool way of illustrating, like, during this entire film, like, you start out the film and he's still torn apart by having killed his own father.
Yeah.
Having killed one of the most beloved characters in his franchise.
Yeah.
Which he realizes because he watches Star Wars. Anyway, I'm spoiling. No, but like he's conflicted, and that's how he lost to Rey, and that's why Rey can sense him being conflicted this entire time that they're communing, and like he finally comes to the, like, I don't even think he was 100% sure why he had to kill Han, other than like maybe I have to do this so I can so I can snuff out the light in me.
He said earlier when Snoke was tearing him a new one.
Yes.
He was like, I've given everything to you. I've given everything I have to the dark side. And he's like, and you just treat me like this.
Yeah.
And I think he realizes that, like, Snoke doesn't care about him. Luke didn't care about him. No one's cared about him. He needs to let go of the past. He needs to let go of everything and look out for himself. And he's like, Rey's here for me. Rey kind of gets him.
Yeah.
And he's like, Rey, are you with me? And when she wasn't, then he was like, I will let go of you too.
Honestly, this is like the first time we've had the major antagonist and the major protagonist of these films have such a connection like they do. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like I guess kind of Luke and Palpatine, but not Luke, sorry. Anakin and Palpatine, but even then everything's deceitful, and then Luke and Darth Vader, but even then, like, it's just a feeling up to the end, and the connection of them being, father and son. But here it's like
they understand each other. They were honest with each other.
Yeah.
And they just said, no, that's not my way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Kylo finally, and the thing is, it goes back to our discussion on the dark side, and it's not like it's a force that wants you to go kill people. It's just given to your baser desires. And
Millennium Falcon, I hate that.
I know,
Kill this guy, I hate that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Like at the end, he was just like acting.
Like, this is what I want. This is what I want. That's what I want.
Yep.
And I'm gonna rage, and I'm gonna pitch a little hissy fit.
A fissy hit.
C-cigar.
Yes. So yeah, and his character arc was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave the old things in the past because I don't want the past to hold me back anymore. And that's how he feels the entire time, is that the past is holding him back to who he really needs to be and can be. So, and that kind of leads into Rey's character arc, which I think is one of the most interesting ones, because like you don't know it for a while and you're unsure about it for a while until the end, when you see resolve in her eyes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the name of the movie, The Last Jedi. We know that Luke is a Jedi. We know that Rey wants to be a Jedi. Is Luke going to be the last Jedi? Is Rey going to be the last Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know
what she's going to end up being. I mean, in the trailer you see her with Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and I feel like they just play with you on her story. Like they open it up to be so many different directions, and it ended up be that Luke, he specifically said, "I will not be the last Jedi."
Yeah. And then you see Rey at the conclusion of her arc being currently the last Jedi. And for her,
Jedi.
yeah, and for her, she's alone throughout the middle of the film. She needs to find her place. She's sort of disillusioned with Luke, from the point where like she thinks, wow, Kylo Ren might be lying about what really happened. And then even when she hears what really happened, she tells him, like, you failed Kylo Ren because you assumed his decision was already made. So she's alone, she's disillusioned, but yet what does she do? Even though she goes over there to Kylo Ren and to Snoke, she does it because she has a really strong feeling and feels in her heart that she can turn Kylo and that Kylo can come to the light side, and she still has faith in her friends.
Mm-hmm.
So
she knows what she wanted to be. She knows what she's meant to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and then the whole arc with her finding out that yes, Kylo's right. Her parents were filthy junk traders. They were nobodies.
Yeah.
That doesn't have like a real place in this story. That's a lie. First one was truth. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Third one is you don't mean anything to anyone, basically, is kind of what he's saying, which is a lie. But then he says, but you mean something to me, which is actually true.
Yeah.
So it's lies mixed with truth, and that's what's enticing about it. But she sees through the facade, she sees through the lies, and she recognizes that, yeah, you're right, I am somebody. I'm nobody, but I'm somebody, but not to you. I'm somebody to the people that I love. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. But
she realizes that failings of others, like the failings of Luke, the failings of her parents, don't reflect on what she can be.
Yeah.
It's like just because Luke might have been wrong, just because they were wrong, doesn't take away from her worth.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Doesn't take away from her mission.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of telling the hero's journey in a different way.
Yeah.
And I really liked what they did with every character, especially Kylo and Rey. And you know what? Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver are phenomenal actors.
Phenomenal.
They were so good in this movie. But yeah.
Adam Driver, he went from being little twig boy too.
Yeah.
I feel like he worked in a topless scene.
He's like, I've been working out a lot. Can I please
take my shirt off?
Okay, but you can't show your belly button, just your nips.
He's like, I've been in big black flowing robes. Can I please show something off?
Did you notice how much weight Mark Hamill lost for this movie too? Especially in the flashback scenes. Like he was... Oh, and in the very end of the end scene.
At the very end, like he's looking good.
Yeah.
I like Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a good guy.
He's
good actor.
He was the Joker. He's
Good
Fire
Joker.
Lord Ozai.
Yeah.
And he's Luke Skywalker.
I did start watching that with little boy.
Nice. Yeah. He's gonna love it.
I got that.
Oh, anyway, okay. So
fantastic.
now that we've gone through the meat, the story,
The characters.
and again, this isn't a review. I think I'll give it 25 schmeckles. But let's talk about some fun little things, which is the new force powers that we see in this movie. So first of all,
we decided to call it
force projection.
Yeah.
Which is what Luke did to create something that you could actually feel, that had like a solid
see, feel, touch that, is practically indistinguishable except a 3PO.
Yeah.
From the real thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So, which was really cool.
Also,
and what?
I was very confused by this the first time watching. because I didn't know he was a force projection. He comes out and he has a lightsaber. I'm like, I thought that was broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can create a lightsaber as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you never see it cut through anything.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems like his fighting tactic is a little bit more avoidance. You see him physically dodge instead of lightsaber. Anyways.
Because the lightsaber probably would have just passed through his lightsaber, and then the jig is up.
Don't they?
Nope.
Oh, they don't?
No, I made like special attention.
Yeah. I should have paid more attention to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just all avoidance. But like that was a really cool scene. But the point of that was to let Kylo know, like, I'm sorry, but also I've come to terms with the fact that this is not completely my fault. I had a weak moment.
Yeah. I failed you, but this.
But you failed you too.
Yeah.
So. And I think that's a strong thing. Like, people I know are complaining about, like, Luke would never do that. Luke would never be like that. Like, you know what? If you just had a force, like a vision in your mind of, like, everyone you know and love dying, and you have that moment where, like, you panic and you turn on your lightsaber because you own a lightsaber and it's real. I'm getting really into this. Anyway, so like, he turned it on and then he immediately felt shame, like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't the way to go. He hasn't done anything yet. But I think for Kylo Ren's part, or for Ben Solo's part, he had already been talking to Snoke. He had already decided to turn. And when he saw Luke with a lightsaber, I honestly think he thought, like, okay, the jig is up. I need to follow through with my plan.
Is my time now.
The couple of guys I convinced to go with me, my knights. And we're gonna kill the other Jedis, and we're gonna go to Snoke. So it's not like Luke turned him to the dark side, but I think Luke accepted that at the end.
Yeah. Another, I do relate.
Also, at the very end, when he says, "See you around, kid," what does that mean?
Yeah. I do relate Force projection and Force ghost as very similar things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously similar. They look a little bit different, but I would say that they're probably the same power kind of a thing. But we did see more Force Ghost, which I did say I wanted.
Yeah.
In the last episode.
Nice.
But the Force Ghost Yoda has power over the elements. Basically,
and he
goes
can hit
all storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
X-Men.
X-Men.
Yeah. and lights a tree on fire with a giant lightning
bolt.
Yep.
That was nuts. And also he, like, honestly, what shocked me a little more than that when I was watching it the first time was that, like, he hit Luke on the forehead with his cane. Yeah. I was just like, wait a minute, he's a Force ghost. What? Yeah. What? So I think Force ghosts have more power than we had originally anticipated.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I did talk earlier about Force powers being buffed overall.
Yeah.
And in some elements, I think they're just going more, giving it more depth. You've seen a few Force ghosts here and there, but they've only just been standing there smiling like idiots.
Yeah. And you know what? These movies are written by the same kids that went to it in the theaters and loved it when they were kids. Yeah. And now they're just nerding out and writing their own Star Wars stories.
Yeah, they're coming up with ideas.
And it's
like we are here. That's what
good.
happens. Yeah. That's what it's meant to be.
Yeah. So
another power?
Another power is the Force communion, is what I'm dubbing it.
The joining of two Force midichlorians.
No more midichlorians. but like Snoke's
think
ability.
How many midichlorians Snoke has?
Yeah. So many. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Snoke's ability to connect, I guess Rey's and Kylo Ren's consciousness, their force.
More than their consciousness, though. They were able to touch.
Yeah, that's true.
And at the end of the one, Kylo Ren, he had water on his face.
Yeah, so
it's more than touch.
It was really interesting.
And also, like, when she shoots the blaster at him, he was afraid, and he, like, had to check himself.
It was that real.
Yeah. So.
That's why his shirt was off.
He's like, you blasted it off last time, honey. Stayed off.
Anyway, but like I think when Kylo Ren said like you're not doing this, the exertion alone would kill you or something like that. It was impressive, but also got me thinking like Snoke's that powerful, yes, but also I think it's a little less than what Luke was doing with his force projection. To where like all he was doing was taking two really strong force users and connecting them through the spaces between. And yeah, that's a lot of power, but also that I think he's tapping into their innate abilities with the force in the first place. So that was cool.
I do feel like it seemed to me that they were connected already as well. It was, it was just kind of just opening up that connection.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I agree.
Yeah.
And then last one is kind of, I call it a power, is something that we haven't seen before, is using, like, I wrote down force mind deception. And this has to do with Kylo Ren deceiving Snoke right before he kills him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Snoke clearly had an eye on everyone in the room. He knew he had just gotten everything out of Rey about Luke that he wanted. He could sense all of Kylo Ren's feelings and his, just not quite to his thoughts, I guess. Mm-hmm. But Kylo Ren was able to just deceive him just enough that he wasn't aware that the roles had changed.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Like I can't. Snoke's powerful. I can't blatantly show him a lie from my mind, but you know what? I'm gonna deceive him into thinking that I'm gonna kill her instead of him. So I just thought it was like a really cool thing that we've never really seen before.
It's like,
I don't know.
Snape's a great occlumency.
Yes.
And I'm not quite that strong in my legitimacy yet, but I can deceive him just enough to get by.
Yeah, thanks for bringing Harry Potter
You're welcome.
into a Star Wars discussion.
It was valid.
Officially setting our place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so last little set of discussion. What is this movie set up for number 9?
Yeah.
Number 9?
Number
That's
9.
what that Beatles song was about. Anyway.
So at the end, we see General Hux, Weasley, and Kylo Ren struggling for power. Both little hot-headed, little they're both
Redhead
stubborn
jokes. Like you saw when Hux almost like pulled out his blaster to kill Kylo when he was still unconscious.
Oh yeah.
Like there's gonna be a power struggle, I think, if they follow
Definitely.
through with that storyline.
I think Hux has kind of realized his place though, like vie for power still, but just know that
Not outright, for sure.
Yeah, not outright. Like maybe try and manipulate Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
You can't do anything besides that, because outright Kylo Ren will win every time.
Yeah.
So with the Resistance, and this kind of ties into the peaceful route theory that I have. Where are their allies? I mean, at the very end of the movie, their allies didn't answer the call. No one answered the call. That's why I think that they'll go peaceful. I think that they realize that they are outgunned. They're outmanned. They are outgunned. They have to take a different tactic. They have to fight for what they have to protect what they love.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
So instead of fighting being their main mission, at least during the first half of the movie, like inspiring would be their main mission, and convincing governments, and also but also the main peacekeeping force in the galaxy is currently the gigantic armada that the First Order is handling. So there will be Star Wars, but I think instead of just being a band of rebels fighting against them, I think they're gonna unite a lot of planets to fight against this force that doesn't have their interests in mind.
Yeah, I think it'll be more going exactly like Resistance. It'll be fighting some physical, but not necessarily the rebel force. It'll be, planets joining together, different smaller governments, and then also just resistance is like making sure that they don't have clone replacements. That they can't get recruits for the clone army, that they can't get. I think that they might attack the people and the I think their attacks won't be against the First Order. They will be against more the creators of the weapons. Similar to
that could be
Iron
really
Man.
interesting.
Yeah, similar to Iron Man, he realized that he was part of the problem.
Yeah.
They with Finn's realization on the on the spaceship.
Yeah.
That we're part of the problem too. We're funding this. We're funding these people that are just creating these weapons of war. We stopping things at their source, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of ways they could go with that. That's my hope. That's my,
and that could make for one of the most interesting Star Wars movies, as far as the overarching story yet.
It would still be, you could still have tons of excitement, still have Star Wars, you'd still have, lightsaber battles, you could still have all of your aspects. The tone would change, though.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing, that
mission would change.
That could coincide with the creation finally of a new Jedi Order that isn't what it used to be, but it's still it actually follows the credo of being a peacekeeping people or force. I don't know, you know what I mean, but that could all go in a really cool direction and leave us really satisfied.
It also comes with the realization with every time we destroy a Death Star, every time we try and take them down, they just build back stronger.
Yeah, that's true.
We destroy the Death Star, they build a new one bigger and better. We destroy the bigger, better one, they build a planet.
We destroy the planet.
We get many Death Stars.
Many Death Stars. Yeah, and they didn't
I'm
blow that one
calling
up, so I think they learned their lesson.
Well, they did blow up a dreadnought, but the dreadnought ended up being a bad thing to blow up anyways.
Yeah, so they're just gonna do mini Death Stars. I think they'll go smaller.
I did call the mini Death Stars. You did call,
but we did say it would be like the cricket from Men in Black. So
kind of
close enough on scale.
That sucks up a planet to something that's just a giant cannon.
Yeah.
Anyway. Also, Dreadnought. I'm counting the Dreadnought as a mini.
It's forgivable for me. The mini Death Star tech thing, the battering ram cannon is forgivable for me because, you know what? It's not like they're just gonna go they destroyed the Death Star. We're gonna just burn, or we're gonna get rid of all of the Death Star tech and weapon information. I don't know. They're not gonna get rid of the entire thing. They can use it in different ways if they have the resources, which they obviously do because of what we talked about in the movie. Anyway, so the only thing that leaves completely open and that I'm not really sure where it's going to go is the whole Jedi storyline. What's Rey going to do? Mm-hmm. Where's the now Supreme Leader Kylo Ren going to go with his new order? What's going to happen now? That's really interesting.
That's very open-ended. I'll have to think about where the Jedi Order goes from there because I don't think at the height of the Jedi was when they were at their weakest.
Yeah,
kind of a thing. They had the least amount of influence. They had anyways, that'll be something interesting to think about. Yeah. I am wondering what will happen with Leia.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to handle that.
We had it just kind of pinned as she was dead in this movie.
Yeah, I thought Luke was going to live and Leia was going to die, but nope.
And that was switched. And they did say that they didn't want to CGI Leia.
Yeah.
The family requested that.
I wouldn't want her to.
And exactly.
I wouldn't want them to either.
That's not needed. I'm totally fine with it being part of the opening scroll and maybe a little bit of dialogue in the next movie of what actually happens to Leia.
Yeah.
And she does not make an appearance.
Make her disappearance or death or however they handle it be like the planet that that Obi-Wan finds the clones on, where the gravity's still like affecting things around it, but it's not there. That was way too elaborate of a metaphor, but basically have the impact of what happened still be there. Don't have people talk about it endlessly, but like show us what that impact means. I don't know. And I think that's the best way they could possibly handle it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Basically. Just,
So,
you know.
anyway, and then as far as love interests go, we kind of talked about that before. Like, I'm not sure. Like, I wouldn't mind if they included it. I wouldn't mind if they didn't. It certainly turned into something that I enjoyed in Empire Strikes Back, but that's because of the actors themselves. So if they do, make sure that you nail it with the actors, and if not, then that's fine. I really don't care. And give us some new awesome Jedi powers.
I just want to see them use the Force more.
More Force.
I like this direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And like blow our minds with how the places that you go with what you can use with the Force, which is kind of what you've been doing so far.
Yeah.
With what the two Master Jedi, Luke and Snoke, did in this movie just blew our minds.
Yeah.
But
and I still think one of the best moments from 7 was just when Kylo Ren stops the blaster.
Oh, that was so cool.
The laser. And it was just like, it was the very beginning of that movie, and it was just like, holy crap, like we've never seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of realize that like it just never came up before, and they wouldn't have had that tech in previous movie.
Yeah.
It was just like
Darth Vader effectively did the same thing, but not nearly as cool.
Yeah. It was just like, this isn't something new. This is just something that we can show better now.
Yeah.
And I would like to see more of that,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And then, what was I going to say?
No idea.
Anyway, all right, yeah, I think we'll just leave it at that. Love the movie. We talk about it endlessly because we love this franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm really happy with the direction that they took it because if you listen to our last podcast, the number one thing that I wanted out of this movie was for it to surprise me. It did. So
definitely.
Thank you, Rian Johnson, and thank you all of the phenomenal actors in this movie who just did a great job of sucking us into this world and letting us have a good time in it.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Be better if we had more planets.
More
variety.
Planets with real ecosystems.
Real ecosystems.
Sand. Were you going to say sand?
It was on my tongue. It was there.
It's a problem.
I'm done. I need to go to bed.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.